Hi, this is Gabi from the Audubon Society, and we are here in this great park today to look for my favorite group of amphibians, the salamanders. And we're going to look in 3 habitats here in this park. There is a vernal pond right behind me, a stream, and the woods. And we're going to see different types of salamanders that are unique to each of these habitats. All right, let's go. So we are here at the Vernal Pool because this is where one of my favorite salamanders gathers each spring to breed and lay eggs, the spotted salamander. So we'll talk about what a vernal pool is in just a second, but your best chance of seeing a spotted salamander is an early spring night, and that's because each year when we get the first warm nights and some spring rain, that's the time when the spotted salamanders come down out of their burrows in the woods to these seasonal ponds to breed. So most of the rest of the year they are up there in the woods and they are under cover objects and down in their burrows in the ground. But they do come down all at once to this pond to breed. And we do have a little guy here. We're lucky enough to find one, although they're very hard to find at this time of year. And you can see why it gets its name, the yellow spotted salamander. And they're actually fairly good size too. So why do they have this weird schedule? Well, these seasonal pools are great because they're seasonal. That means they fill up with the spring rains each year and some of the winter snow melt. So we're talking like end of February, beginning of March here in western Pennsylvania. That also means though that they are going to dry out once the heat of summer kicks in. So this is great for our friend the spotted salamander because that means there are no fish in these ponds to eat their eggs. Since these are amphibians, their eggs don't have a protective shell like a snake egg or a bird egg, so they can dry out pretty easily, and that's why they have to stay moist. So she attaches that to a stick under the water so that it stays, hopefully, in a nice wet place. These spotted salamander eggs can be hard to see, and it looks like we've got some right there. So these little white things on the bottom of the pond, I think those might be spermatophores. So that is what the male lays on the bottom of the pond, and the female comes and picks it up to fertilize her eggs. So you may be wondering, why do the salamanders come out at night to lay their eggs? Well, they are amphibians, so their skin has to stay moist. They don't have any scales to protect it from drying out. So not having the sun out, that's going to help. They also wait for a rainy night because, well, it'll be moist in the air, and also it'll make sure that the pond has had a chance to fill up. But there may be fewer predators as well. They do have those yellow spots, and we think those yellow spots warn predators that they don't taste very good. Now, because spotted salamanders spend part of their life in the water and then go through metamorphosis and spend the rest of their life up in the woods, they need 2 habitats throughout their lives. And it's important for us to protect both of those habitats, especially these vernal pools. When they grow up, when they dry out, they're actually going to look maybe just like muddy space on the forest floor. And people might not realize how important they are. But, as we can see, to the spotted salamander at least, they are critical. So now we're here at the stream, and we're going to look for salamanders that live near or in streams. And we're going to focus on 2. One of them should be fairly easy to find. The northern two-lined salamander you can usually find in the shallows right next to the stream or in the water under these rocks. The other one can be a little bit more difficult to find. That's the mudpuppy. And they like larger flat rocks out in the water. In fact, unlike the northern two-lined salamander, they don't ever leave the stream. Alright, so we're looking for salamanders, but we lifted up this rock, and there is a Fly Larva. Cool. That guy's about as big as my little finger. Whoop, there's 2 of them there. So these are the larval stage of a cranefly. And as an adult, they fly through the air. They look like a giant mosquito, but you don't have to worry about them biting you because the adult, its main job is just to reproduce and lay eggs and make these guys. All right, I'm gonna put the rock gently back in place and might move those guys out of the way so they don't get squished. So, no salamander under this rock, but we did find this Dobsonfly larva. You can see those little pinchers there in the front. They could give you a little bite there. So this is an aquatic larva, aquatic macroinvertebrate, and it will metamorphose into a flying insect when it's done growing. But for now it needs to be back in the water. So we're going to go ahead and get it back in there and put the rock back in place. Well, seeing lots of little larval salamanders that still have their gills, and in this running water it's not going to dry up at all, so they hide out under the rocks during the day, they're hunting at night, and it may take them over a year to go through metamorphosis, lose those gills and become an adult. But even as an adult, they're still going to hang out right by this moving water. All right, so now we are going to switch to the woods to look for what is our most common salamander. In fact, it may even be the most common vertebrate in our western Pennsylvania woods in some spots, the Redback Salamander. And to find the Redback Salamander, we don't have to be near water at all. We're going to look on land because they spend their entire lives on land, even as an egg. All right, we're going to have to find some logs and some rocks to look under. Let's go. And here is a little Redback Salamander. Pretty small, only about as long as my little finger. It's showing that beautiful orange back. We found it under a log. So, one of the coolest things about this little land salamander is breathing. It never goes into the water, lives its entire life on land, so you'd think it breathes through lungs, right? Nope, no lungs. In fact, this is a group of salamanders called Lungless salamanders. So how does it breathe? Well, it doesn't have gills, so it actually gets 100% of its oxygen through its skin and the lining in its mouth. So cool. All right, well, this little salamander is going to hide out under cover during the day, away from the sun and away from any predators, but at night when it's nice and cool and damp, it'll go out to hunt for all kinds of little critters that it can find out here on the forest floor. All right, so we're getting ready to put the log or the branch back here. We don't want to squish the salamander, so we're going to move it out of the way. Now, I don't want to touch the salamander if I don't have to, because the oils in my skin can be kind of irritating to it. And if I have touched anything like bug spray or sunscreen or anything like that, that could really harm this little one. They have very sensitive skin because they need to get a lot of their oxygen through their skin, like we said. And I may not even have to try and move it out of the way. It looks like it has gone and walked just off into the leaf litter. So we're going to put this log back and let this salamander get on with its day. Thanks, little guy. Well, we finally found a redback salamander under this log. You know, it doesn't have a red back, but sometimes they come in a gray version. It's called a leadback salamander, but it's still a redback. Now, this guy is showing you something that happened with its tail. These salamanders, when they're threatened, they can actually lose their tail, and it'll fall off, and that's to distract a predator. So you can see they can grow their tail back. That one's just starting to grow back, but it does take a lot of energy for them to do that. So it's best not to handle them and make them scared enough to do that. Redback salamanders live on land all of their lives, and the fact that they get all of their oxygen through their skin is just bonkers. The really weird thing, though, is that they actually lay their eggs on land too. And remember, salamander eggs don't have a protective shell to keep them from drying out. So how do the redback salamanders do it? Well, that very same log that they're hiding under, that's where they lay their eggs. And their eggs, the larval stage, stays in the egg. So by the time that little baby redback salamander is ready to hatch out of that egg, it's already completed its larval stage, and when it hatches, it looks just like a little mini adult. No gills, no fin for a tail. It just has all of its legs, and it's ready to go. Crazy. Redbacks are so cool. Well, we looked at a few species of salamander today, and each of them had adaptations to survive in their particular habitats. But there are over 20 kinds of salamander that call Western PA home. Why? Because we have diverse habitats. So now that we know they're here, how do we keep them safe and happy? Well, number one, protect their skin and their tails. Try not to handle salamanders too much, especially with your bare hands. Number two, always put a salamander shelter right back in the same place that you found it. Be sure to move the salamander out of the way so that you don't squish it. Number three, leave it there. Salamanders are wild animals and they belong in their natural habitat. So be sure to leave our slimy friends where you found them so that they can go about their salamander lives. And in Pennsylvania, adults do need a fishing license to take salamanders or any other critters out of the water. Most importantly, protect habitat. Help spread the word about the different habitats that salamanders need so that they can always have healthy, clean places to call home. All right. Thanks for joining us to learn a little bit about Pennsylvania salamanders, and we hope that you enjoy some time outside today. Visit us at aswp.org. Bye!